It's been a little while since I talked about the meta in Star Rail, but they made some recent changes to the Prydwen tier list that I think we need to talk about. One of the biggest changes that they made, let's get it off right off the bat, is the fact that they're changing the tier list to include signature light cones, right? So let's just read this word for word, right? Still, the biggest change we're making in this update is a swap from strictly no signature tier list to one including them. Previously, characters were assessed with and limited to standard S1 5-star light cones, any S5 4-star light cones, and Herta 5-star light cones. Under the criteria, characters will still have access to previously listed light cones, but also have any S1 limited 5-star light cone as well. Here's some of the reasons for making this change, right? So they say, nowadays characters are designed with their signature light cone as a core component of their kit, with the expectation that they are played with it equipped. This is especially true for damage-based characters, with many having no or incredibly limited alternatives. Now, I want to read that part out loud because that, to me, that's kind of a bad thing, right? Because I do like the fact that, now, like when it comes to the change, I think the change is fine, right? I'm not opposed to the change. I do think that these tier lists should be able to rate these characters in peak form that's realistically attainable with at 0, because like if a signature light cone like revolutionizes the character or makes them a lot better, how are you going to be able to really see if that's the case when looking at the tier list, right? Because if a tier list doesn't tell you that, and people are actually getting light cones, I do think it should be included. But at the same time, I do think that there should always be decent secondary options for characters. I don't like when you feel that you are forced to get the light cone. I try to get the light cone for characters as much as I can. I don't always get the light cone, but most of the time, if I'm interested in a character, I'm going to get the light cone, right? 90% of the time, right? So, but I want that to be my choice. I don't want to be put into a corner where I have to choose, where I have to get the light cone. And I feel like recently games, the gacha games have been kind of pushing you into that. I mean, like, not to praise Genshin too much, but I think the game that's the best when it comes to secondary options is a game with the worst weapon banner, right? Which is Genshin, where you almost never have to get a signature light cone in Genshin. There's always great secondary options, even some options that you kind of would prefer, you know? I know some characters that want a Favonius instead of their signature sometimes, you know? I think that's great. But at the same time, you want your money to be worth it if you're going to pay for a weapon, right? You don't want to spend $100 to get a weapon and it's 5% better than the second best option that you can get for free. Because then you essentially just bought a skin, right? You didn't like you bought the weapon for its aesthetic look versus its actual better functionality, right? And so that's bittersweet to me a little bit. When you buy the signature light cone, you are getting your money's worth, but at the same time, it is kind of manipulating you to do it. So I don't know if I like that, but I want to read that part out loud. But yeah, it looks like they're in this tier list. They're going to start putting in signature light cones. So, but besides that, let's get to the characters, all right? And see what kind of looks what they did for the Memory of Chaos tier list here, right? Because they just added Evernight, and they made a couple changes too. So let's kind of just go through these things here. But first, we'll start with Evernight because she's right here in tier 0. I could have sworn she was in tier 0.5 last I looked, but I guess they changed that in the past couple days. But yeah, so she is tier 0 in terms of a DPS. Tier 0 in terms of a sub DPS, which is insane. All right, I saw a Doom posting for March or for Evernight, and you know, I always find it hilarious that to this day, like, Star Rail is a game where people complain about power creep, but then they still doom post new characters, which it just doesn't make sense. If we think one of the main issues with the game is that the new characters are too strong, why are we still doom posting the new characters? Clearly, if you think a character is not that good when they're going through beta and you don't like power creep, then rejoice, because they're slowing down the power creep then, right? But like, I don't know, everybody begs for characters to be like ridiculously strong, out of control, cracked, and then they get here, they're like, oh yes, they're cracked, and then they're like, oh no, power creep. It's like, what? That's what you asked for, you know? But yeah, people are doing posting her a little bit, not that much, but they're doing posting a little bit, and well, she's the cream of the crop. So yep, so she's you can use her as a main DPS, and you can use her as a sub DPS for Castress, and she excels in both. But warning for this, for her being in a tier 0 for a main DPS, I don't have Hyacinth, but apparently she needs Hyacinth to be that level of a DPS. Without Hyacinth, she's gonna fall down a little bit, which is whatever. I mean, clearly she was made to be a sub DPS, so that's fine. Yeah, for those of you guys like me who skipped Hyacinth, I feel you. I feel the pain, but I had to skip her because, I'm a whale, but I only could do so much, so she had to get skipped so I can get my Saber, my Archer, and my Finon. It is what it is. Anaxa is still up here. I was kind of an Anaxa doubter, but he's somebody who also had to skip. And I see the light. I see his, especially with Ceredra here on the case. I see the light. I see why he's tier 0 and Herta isn't. It is what it is. I love Herta more, but facts are facts. All right. He has outpaced her when it comes to that, because Herta can't use Ceredra, or she can, but it's just not worthwhile. There's just way better options. So yeah, so there's that. Archer, he's doing great, but we've already talked about him. Castress is still whooping ass, of course. Hysolence is, still killing the game. We just talked about Evernight, and Finon. Tier 0 is looking like it should, I believe. When I talked about it last, I feel like there was things I didn't agree with between tier 0.5 and tier 0. But I think I can agree now. I think I agree now. I honestly, for Saber in 0.5, I still feel like Saber is kind of on par with Archer. I mean, in terms of like my actual experience, but it is what it is, I guess. That's that. But tier 0.5, honestly, if your favorite character, like, I know a lot of people get worried about power creep in this game, but if your DPS that you use is tier 0.5 or even tier 1, I really don't think it's a big deal. I really don't, because I think tier 1 all the way up to tier 0 can annihilate the content, right? I mean, my Fei Xiao has like E3, I think it is. So like, she's just a monstrosity. She's stronger than these guys at E0. But when you look at these characters, like, or for example, I have Blade, and I don't even have Hyacinth, and he's able to put in the work. Jingdu is able to put in the work. I think my Acheron, even though she's not E0, she zero cycles very easily. So I just don't think that the tier 1s are really that low, that much lower than the tier 0. I mean, I think there's still a clear distinction between the two. I think the tier 0 is clearly stronger. But if you see your DPS that you use dropping out of tier 1, I really wouldn't worry about it. I think as long as you have their best team, or at least try to go for it as much as the best team you can, I think that they're going to be just fine. I think the only time when you start running into troubles when you start dropping below that, Break is having a tough time and such, like, for example, I just cleared with Sealy the other day, just to see if I still could do it. And I was able to, but it took like 7 cycles. So, you know, it is what it is there. Those guys have been looking into the future. Some of these characters are going to get some buffs here. So, not direct buffs, but I don't know. If you know, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think the DPS, I don't really have anything to argue with when it comes to the DPS category. Everything seems to kind of fall into place where it should. Even though I still look at Fei Xiao and Acheron, and even Blade is like strong units. You know, it may be true that they're just not as strong as these guys up here. But they are still plenty strong, so keep that in mind, right? Then we have the sub DPS category where Evernight still is here, right? I mean, I was actually surprised at how much stronger she was, because again, somebody who doesn't have Hyacinth, I was just used to kind of building up my Castress ult just by her, like essentially only what Luocha and herself can do. But now that I have somebody to kind of speed it up, like my Castress team with Evernight on it is a monstrosity. It's not my strongest team. And I have Evernight at E0, E0S1. And it's my strongest team, E2 Castress, and then everybody else, oh, well, Tribby is E1. But I have, you know, E0, Luocha, and her. And it's a monstrosity, you know? I actually managed to get, 2 stars on the Anomaly something like that, the new game mode. I forgot what it's called. Arbitration Anomaly or something. But if I had Hyacinth, maybe I'd be able to get the 3 stars, but it is what it is. But yeah, I think they did a good job with her. A lot of people say her animations are kind of mid. I like her animations, honestly. They're simple, but they're nice, you know? And if you like the big flashy animations, then, you know, you have plenty of food to eat when it comes to that. And then they moved Kafka up to tier 0, which finally, they had to eyeball her for a little bit, and I do think it's about time. As soon as Hyacinth came, she was tier 0. As soon as Hyacinth came, she was tier 0. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Hyacinth is tier 0. Without Kafka, she is not, and she just drops down. And that's how Kafka has always been. Many tier list videos ago, where there was a video where Black Swan was above Kafka. And I said, I don't agree with that. Because no matter what happens with Dot, as soon as Dot comes back, Kafka comes back, Kafka's on top. She is the key to Dot, right? And even though they have buffed her, so she's even more of a key, I think even old Kafka would be a force to be reckoned with these buffs, right? I mean, Hyacinth just would have gone down a little bit if Kafka didn't get buffed. But it still would have been pretty top tier. And so yeah, Kafka, she's gonna be hard to power creep because they'll have to make a unit that's exactly like her, and that's just gonna be kind of a cheap copy there, and you know that'd be weird. But I think they plan on doing that because Kafka is a fan favorite, and I think in lore she's gonna end up being a very important character. I think she's right below being part of the main cast of that in terms narratively. So I think they're gonna keep her relevant. Anaxa, don't have to say much there. He's right there with the Herda. You know, but as of right now, how the meta's going, he just makes a better main DPS. Black Swan is doing her thing, you know, because that's doing good. She's doing good, but she is the best in slot partner, but the weakest link in terms of the team. So it is what it is. But yeah, so there's that. Down here, the meta character is tier 1. Now, Blade is okay because you can use him with Castress. I've done it before. It's not too bad. Jade, I do like. I think this is a fair placement. Since I skipped the Nox, I used Jade with Herda, and I do notice there's a slight difference where Anaxa edges out, but it's not that big. Especially if you're like in pure fiction or a lot of AoE content, then the gap kind of slims a little bit there. But Topaz, unfortunately, I kind of disagree with Topaz. Because the thing with Topaz is that she was directly power crept by Cypher. Like, Cypher pulled her up. There's no point of ever using Topaz if you have Cypher. So I just think that destroys her value a lot, you know? It just kind of made some of her shortcomings kind of a little bit more into the spotlight, you know, because when it comes to choosing a target with her and stuff like that, that can be frustrating, especially if you got to use skill points and such. Whereas Cypher automatically targets the enemy with the most HP, which is great. Whereas Topaz is kind of random. I don't know. I don't like Topaz's direct power creep like that, but she had her issues, and it feels better to play with Cypher, but she needs a buff and she needs a new niche. I don't know what it is. She needs a new niche, because if they buff her directly and then just make her stronger than Cypher, then a lot of Cypher's value is going to diminish. Well, actually not even. Because Cypher is very flexible, can be used on all different types of teams. So I'd say Topaz can get buffed and get her follow-up niche back, which would be perfectly fine. But yeah, she needs a buff, but I think she is actually currently lower than tier 1. So there's that. And we don't need to talk about these guys down here. It is what it is. They've fallen off. My last 4-star here. Our last 4-star. Oh, how low you've fallen. It is what it is, guys. But I don't know. I don't fret about the no 4-star thing too much, because they've been giving us free characters, you know. And let's say if they throw on Force, they gave us 3 4-stars. I think that would be reasonable, I suppose. But they've given us, who they giving us for free? They've given us Archer. They're giving us Dan Heng. And who else did we give? Oh yeah, they gave us our anniversary choice between Luocha and Ron May, which is, I think that's fine. Like, if you're gonna give us a bunch of 5-stars, give us a couple free ones, and that's more free units than any of the other games have done. So, I'm not too hung up about it. But yeah, so there's that. But now we get over to Amplifier and Sharidra. I don't think I even talked about Sharidra. I kind of been taking a break to talk about the meta, because I just been kind of overwhelmed with trying to play all these different games. But I've been keeping up with everything, though. I've been keeping up with everything. It's just that, you know, yeah. But Sharidra, I think, because she's very niche, but when she works, she works. So I don't really disagree with the tier 0. I mean, they have the Partner Plus tag, so you know that she's only going to work in certain scenarios, and when she does work in those scenarios, she's a monstrosity. But she just doesn't work much outside of those scenarios. She works obviously great with Finon. She works great with Anaxa, which are 2 tier 0 units. And she works pretty good with Archer, but I just think Cypher is better in that scenario. Instead of using her, but she does work really well. You know, if you don't have Cypher, then, which a lot of people probably had to skip Cypher because she was between Hyacinth and Finon and the Fate collab. But, you know, if you have her, you know, Archer's best in slot, but, you know, it is what it is there. But yeah, she's great for where she can be used. Sunday and Tribi are carrying the team on their back. Honkai Star Rail. If you look at Honkai Star Rail, Tribi and Sunday are the rails that the train is traveling on. They are carrying the teams on their back. And, like, so many teams want one or both of them. It's crazy. I mean, maybe in the future, maybe Sunday may get a little bit of rest, but and Tribi maybe too, because they're making some cracked supports, and maybe the next region will have even crazier. But as of right now, those two are carrying the team on their back. If there was a tier 0 plus tier, those two would be in it, right? They're fantastic. They're doing their thing. I kind of look forward to new cracked supports, just so I don't have to like share them so much. Because I mean, it's to the point where I don't play Saber as much as I want to, because I need Sunday on the other team. You know, I don't play Mighty as much as I want to because I need Tribi on. You know, so it's like, and I don't like their power level without those two on the team. So they're cracked. They're busted. They are right where they belong. I never imagined that Sunday would be as powerful as he is now, but he is a force to be reckoned with. RMC, a free unit being up here in tier 0 is lovely to see. It's great. But yeah, they deserve it. They deserve that spot. They help out so many teams, and they're super flexible, and they do a damn great job. And they're best in slot in some scenarios. So tier 0.5. Now I've already talked about Cypher to an extent, so I won't focus on her too much. But one thing I want to point out is these three right here, the big three harmony that we had in 2.0 patches. And they're back together again in tier 0.5. You know, Sparkle came a long way to try and get there. Ron May stood the test of time, and Robin has finally fallen from her top spot. Yeah, it's good to see them together again. Sparkle, I still think, continues to be underestimated by a lot, you know, because she does work well with a lot of people. I feel like people sleep on how well she works with Finon. She's essential for Archer, so that's definitely a plus too. So yeah, but she is pulling her weight. I think she is where she belongs, tier 0.5. Ron May, she's still the secret to Break, even though Break has fallen quite a way, but she's still fantastic when it comes to dot. She's still second best when it comes to Casterus. If you don't have Tribby on there, she does a really good job. She's a character that you can always use if you do not have a best in slot, which is very, very strong. So yeah, Ron May, and the fact that you can get it, that they gave her for free essentially, or the choice to get it for free when it came to the anniversary. So that was fantastic. Bronya, I think they might be overhyping her a little bit. I mean, because I think the only situation with Bronya is that, like, I mean, especially at E0, like, yeah, she's good with Finon, but if I have an E0 Bronya, if I have an E0 Bronya and I have a Sparkle, I'm just gonna use Sunday and Sparkle with Finon and not use Bronya, you know. But because I have Eidolons on Bronya, I think that's when she's finally worth it. But because that skill point can beat you up a little bit. So I do think she's being overhyped a little bit. I do think she is tier 1. But hey, I mean, it's good to see a 1.0 unit being this high up. I think she's the only one. She's the only unit that was here since launch that is in the Apex character category out of all the categories. So I mean, that is nice to see. That is nice to see. It is what it is there. And then we go down to tier 1 here for the amplifiers. Zhao Shou, who's, I don't know. I always thought Zhao Shou was just this overhyped guy from the day he released, and even now I think he's below tier 1. But it is what it is. Silver Wolf is kind of sad to see because her buffs were so great, but it's just that there's so many options now. It's that she's just never the best in slot for anything. I mean, I kind of saw that coming. I mean, a lot of people were praising her and stuff like that, but her buffs were great. She is a fantastic unit to have on your account because she can help out a lot. She's kind of like Raw May a little bit, where if you don't have a best in slot, you kind of throw her in there, and her weakness of plan is pretty great. They fixed it completely in my opinion. The only thing they can do better is make it like AoE or something, but that's kind of crazy. But yeah, but otherwise, I think she's great. But tier 1 is where she belongs. Tinyun, it's great to see her here too, being another 1.0 unit from launch and being a 4-star too. The fact that she's able to still put in work and help someone like Finon to a large degree is pretty fantastic, right? But yeah, and then usually I don't talk about down here, but Fugue, just want to touch on her. It's very sad to see. I looked at Fugue as someone who was like, you need to have if you want to be able to use Break in the next patch, which is true. I can use Break just fine on my account, but I think a lot of that is because my Firefly is E2, you know. So the fact that I don't have to use a bunch of skill points, and the fact that I go much more often. It's great, but I don't know. I think Break fell off a little bit too hard for my liking. It's sad to see. It's weird that the 4-star variant is higher than the 5-star that came out somewhat recently, in my eyes. But hey, it is what it is. Let me go over sustains now. Hyacine, character I skipped. I can't wait for a re-one. Please come back to me, Hyacine. I'm sorry. I was stuck. I didn't have enough money, but I have it now. All right. I mean, just come after Cyrene, okay? But yeah, she's killing the game. She's killing the game. There's so many teams that you want her on. Like, just to list them off, every team, actually, any team you can have her on. It doesn't matter, and she's going to be one of the best options. It doesn't even matter if her mechanics fit well with the team she's on. She still does so much that it just makes her, because she's a sustain that deals a considerable amount of damage and heals quite a lot. So it's like, what more can you ask for? And when it comes to the HP scalers or the remembrance characters or whatever, she can help buff the team too. Like, so it's just like, she's best in slot for Castress. For Evernight, you can use her with Anaxa. You can use her with Archer, because you can use her to be SP positive, right? Completely SP positive, right? You can use it with all kinds of characters. You can use it with Hyacine, you can use her with Agalea. I don't like her too much with Maide, but whatever. You can use it. Like, you can use it with all these characters. She might be best in slot with her. She's best in slot with Acheron, like, she's best in slot with Blade and Jing Liu. Like, yeah, she's a monstrosity. There's not much else to say there, right? Aventurine still does his job, I don't have an issue using Aventurine as a sustain. So, I mean, that's fine in my book. I think, as of right now, I think Huohuo is still tier 0. I think Huohuo is still tier 0 at this day and age. Maybe when Dan Heng comes, maybe I can see her falling down. But as of right now, I think she's still tier 0. So I don't know why they put her down at all. But it is what it is, right? Gallagher, I don't think he's as good as these guys. But the fact that he's a 4-star and we've got him for free a few times is great. That means he's great value. If you have him and you don't have all these sustained, you can build them, great, and you're good to go. But I do think that these guys are, like, Huohuo I think is better. Aventurine I think is better. Linksha I think is better. So, but yeah, it is what it is. I think Gallagher and Luocha are neck and neck. That's my opinion, and I prefer Luocha. But I would say that they're neck and neck. But yeah, Luocha is great. He, since I don't have Hyacine, like, he's the one that I use when I need a whole bunch of healing with my casters teams and such, or if I want to use my day, things like that. And it just, the fact that how SP positive he is comes in handy. So I do think he's great, but tier 1 is where he belongs. That's great. That's good. But Fu Xuan, man, she's fallen far. I don't think she deserves that, though. I do think she belongs to tier 1. Like, I've said this a few times before, but I think the reason why people sleep on Fu Xuan so much nowadays, is not because she's bad, but because her crit rate buff just is less impactful when you have built characters, right? When you have characters built the way that you want, then she's just not really doing much, But when the enemies start hitting really hard, then yeah, I guess she falls off because she's the one that keeps losing all this health. Outside of that, like in MOC, like I just don't feel like that's going to be an issue too much. I don't think her damage limit is going to be that much of an issue, especially when we're counting signature light cones where, like, you'll heal after a wave. But yeah, I just think that if you don't have characters built the right crit rate yet, I think her crit rate buff is perfectly fine. I think it's very, very helpful. So that's just kind of my 2 cents right there when it comes to that. I do think she should be up a little bit more, but yeah, that is the whole tier list right there. There's been a lot of changes, mainly being with the signature light cone situation going on. It's always a shame to see some people fall, but it is what it is. It's the name of the game, and yeah, that's it. But I mean, the moral story here is Evernight is the only one that can dominate more than one category, and that screams high value to me. So I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of the tier list? Do you guys think they've done a good job representing the power level of these characters? Do you like the signature light cone change? Definitely let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you like the content I'm giving. Of course, subscribe to the channel to get more content like this. Find it here. Listen up.